Like, I thought the war in Ukraine was supposed to end on day one, but they keep saying waste, fraud, and abuse when what they mean is programs that I don't like. I didn't know that we were signing up to be owners of Greenland and the Gaza Strip. How do you know? You had 8 years to investigate it. What do you mean? How many special
I don't
counsels?
know. Well,
How
how
many
did we have 8
Republican
years
things?
to investigate
They had
them?
nothing.
We've got a Piers Morgan debate to look at between Destiny and MAGA Christo-fascist Andrew Wilson, where, as always, we'll look over the best moments and provide some additional fact checks and context where needed, so be sure to hit the like button, it helps out a ton, and subscribe if you haven't already. Hey you! Yes, you! We now have a Substack website where you can help support the channel. For just $8 a month, you can get daily articles exposing the chaos in Trump's first 100 days, a weekly podcast, and other exclusive perks, all while helping the channel grow and defend democracy. This is something that's not just very important to me, but enables us to get our message out to the most amount of people while also being just a genuine passion that I would love to pursue. So for those who have been wondering how to support the channel, how to help us grow, you can sign up now at the first link in our description. Thank you, and let's get back to the video.
I guess I'm looking more towards like domestic policy, like things related to immigration or healthcare or what's happening right now in our executive branch or foreign policy. Like, I thought the war in Ukraine was supposed to end on day one. I didn't know that we were signing up to be owners of Greenland and the Gaza Strip and the Panama Canal. These things I think are more important, at least to me, but I don't know, maybe some people are really powered by what Republicans think.
I don't know, you know, I got a 13-year-old daughter, and I got to say, if I was living in America, she was born there actually, but if I was living in America with a 13-year-old daughter who likes sport, I would be very exercised about this, and particularly if she had to share changing rooms with biological men who said, I'm now a woman.
Yeah, I think I'd be more worried about my daughter like dying in Texas, like trying to get a medical procedure done, because I'm pretty sure there've been 3 deaths now so far in Texas of young women that are pregnant that can't have medical procedures done because the doctors have to be so careful when they're doing them that they can't accidentally abort a fetus, because then they'll be held liable for crimes.
This whole kind of trans panic by the right that they've created, especially in sports, is just another way of them being angry at their idea of femininity being threatened. In reality, trans people make up 0.5% of the population. A small percent of that is trans women. A small percent of that is trans women athletes. We're literally talking about like 13 people. The idea that this executive order is anything more than a bigoted distraction from his failure to meet his campaign promises and his seeming conquest for imperialism and invading sovereign countries and other long list of things that wasn't advertised on the campaign trail. It's weird to pretend that this is as perplexing a worry as, say, a parent might have sending their kid to school in a red state that values relaxed gun laws over their child's safety, or that a woman might have about bleeding out in a parking lot of a red state because they can't get the care they need after a miscarriage.
Unfortunately, the average American, I guess, or the average person has no idea how government works or functions, and I guess weird and surreal is just the way to describe now, or illegal, I guess, is the way to describe that this administration has decided to address programs that they don't like. If you want to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse, I don't think anybody would necessarily have a problem with it, but they keep saying waste, fraud, and abuse when what they mean is programs that I don't like. And they've already taken several almost certainly illegal actions in trying to basically unilaterally dismantle organizations like USAID that have been independently authorized by Congress that the president doesn't have the ability to do, to dismantle unilaterally. And now you've seen TROs coming out from the judiciary that's telling him, hey, you have to stop. There was the one on the federal spending freeze that not only was a TRO issued telling him that you have to stop freezing these funds. Now another judge has said you are violating the TRO. You need to stop this immediately. So I guess if you don't care about the legality or the process and procedure or anything having to do with the structure of government, I guess it's a cool thing. But if you care about like following the law or the rules or maintaining your government, then it would probably be a horrific thing.
He's spot on here. What's happening is Musk is just utilizing parts of grants or funding that he knows he and conservatives won't agree with and labeling that as waste, fraud, and corruption, despite almost all of it being none of that and congressionally approved with clear benefits for most of it. But then he's going even further to use this spending that he doesn't agree with but is labeling as fraud as the justification to then go and nix the entire agency despite all of the other benefits we see from it. Now we have reports with USAID, for instance, having hundreds of millions of dollars of food that's going to go to waste, or USAID hospitals shutting down, people dying because they can't receive the care from USAID ID. Meanwhile, the actual fraud, waste, and corruption in government is getting ignored because the population who doesn't know how the government works is now convinced that it's just any funding they don't like that is corruption.
Bringing up the Russia collusion stuff is funny when the entire foundation for Hunter Biden and Burisma was entirely fabricated. That person's already been convicted by the FBI for lying about the origination for that. And 3, Donald Trump was already found to have people who were working with him collude with Russia. Roger Stone did it, but he was pardoned by Donald Trump. The same way Donald Trump pardoned all 1,600 J6 offenders.
The same way that Biden just
that were
Biden does the whole crime family, right? Pardons the whole crime family. But that's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
How many crimes did they committed? The Republicans had like 8 years to investigate them and found nothing. How do you know? You had 8 years to investigate it. What do you mean? How many special counsels?
How did we have 8 years to investigate
them? Nothing.
So much good stuff was brought up here. Russian collusion absolutely happened. That's a hill any leftist should die on. The idea that it's been disproven is utterly fabricated by Trump and MAGA and their fake news spear. Even Republicans in the Senate found Russia did indeed interfere in Trump's behalf. Roger Stone worked for Trump's administration and was convicted in relation to this. Michael Flynn as well, I believe. I mean, there was a couple people. Trump also admitted his son took information from the Russians specifically to use against Hillary. The Mueller report, something MAGA will cite as evidence of Trump's innocence because they've never actually read it. They just have a clip that they take out of context, like MAGA does with most things. But the Mueller report actually even details the plot of how the Trump admin took info from Russia knowing that it would help them, hoping that it would help them in the election, but they just couldn't prove that they did so knowing it was illegal or willful. Though we're supposed to believe that all of this is propaganda and fake news done by the mainstream media, but Hunter Biden's laptop, something given to Rudy Giuliani by a known decade-long Russian agent, and the contents of which has been proven to be entirely fabricated, was not only real, but this was the sole thing that swung the 2020 election in it being censored. Like, give me an absolute break. Also, there's a major difference in the pardons. Let's take off the kitty gloves and stop pretending we have to give into MAGA delusions with this. Trump pardoned all the crooks he was surrounded with, that he surrounded himself with in government, that not only committed crimes, like they weren't just accused of committing crimes. You weren't just saying, hey, they did bad things. They were indicted by grand juries of Americans and found guilty by juries of Americans for felony acts in many cases. Some, like in the Russian collusion stuff, like with Roger Stone, for colluding with foreign agents. Many of them committing these crimes on Trump's behalf, all got pardoned by Trump, while Biden preemptively pardoned people because specifically they had been investigated the last 8 years by Republicans with no crimes being found after 8 years of investigations. How many different committees do we remember seeing throughout Biden's presidency about Hunter Biden and fraud, about Burisma, about Joe Biden, about Hunter Biden's laptop? In many cases, already having tens of thousands of dollars in legal costs already stacked up on these people who have been investigated for no crimes to be found. And then that's not to mention the taxpayer dollars, the thousands of taxpayer dollars we've wasted on these committees that they've held for no crimes to be found or even brought in a lot of these instances, as Republicans were swearing to continue doing this even after Biden left office, as they would now control things like the FBI and the House and the Senate, which, to speak of, Trump's FBI director had a lot of their names on a hit list that he published and promised to go after. But again, in MAGA's convoluted worldview, we're supposed to believe these two things are morally equivalent. And if you have a problem with one, you have to have a problem with the other. And if you don't, then you don't with either. And then we're also supposed to, again, believe things like Hunter Biden's laptop, but not Russian collusion. One with mounds of evidence that has been proven with multiple convictions, and the other which had no charges brought and has stood to mainly disprove itself.